Our big debate. Swindon and Wiltshire Pride have handed out leaflets to primary schools explaining the 300 LGBTQ+ flags, and it's sparked debate over age-appropriate education. But the charity has defended the move, claiming that the material promotes inclusivity. So for our debate this hour, I'm asking, should primary school children be taught about Pride? Well, joining me now is Chairman of the Great British Political Action Committee, Ben Habib, and journalist Benjamin Butterworth. Now, Benjamin, let's start with you.
Is me first.
I know, I don't know why I'm doing that. Let's start with Ben then, OK. But I know what you're going to say,
Yeah,
Ben.
I know, that's probably why you don't start with me.
I agree with you. Going to get some balance. I mean, Ben, this is not really about inclusivity. This is just madness. There aren't 300 different types of flags and sexualities, are there? It's made up.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it? Why can't they do things in 2s and 3s like it used to be when I was at school? You could remember what they were. 300 flags, you can't even remember what they are. But, no, I mean, the whole thing is ideologically based, isn't it? The same ideology that goes with multiculturalism, diversity, equity and inclusion goes with LGBTQ. It's all part of the same panoply of brainlessness, frankly, is the only way to describe it. And of course, the most vociferous part of the LGBTQ brigade are the transgender component. The gays, you know, being gay nowadays it's normalised. It doesn't require a movement. It's perfectly accepted in society. No one regards anyone who's gay as being, you know, outside of the outside norms. It's the transgender movement that is trying to get on the bandwagon of the now accepted, you know, homosexuality in society, and they're using it. They weaponize it, and they're not even teaching children about the existence of LGBTQ. What they're trying to do, and I touched on it earlier in earlier segments, is indoctrination. They're trying to win over these children to their ideology. They're indoctrinating them. It is politicization of children at a very, very young age. It should stop.
Benjamin, it would be one thing if this booklet was based on facts, but it's not. I mean, there's 300 made-up identities.
Well, as a gay that knows lots of the gays, let me say that I've never met a gay man or a lesbian or whatever in my life who hasn't faced challenges from family members, from people they went to school with, maybe even in the workplace. I'm afraid that while attitudes have significantly changed in a generation, we didn't sort of start being born in 2014 when they gave same-sex marriage. Lots of us live with the consequences of that trauma.
But do you see yourself...
That's why it's important.
Do you see yourself as a natural ally to the trans movement? Because for me,
yes,
they're totally different things.
Yes, and so do the vast majority of gay and lesbian people.
But let's just get back to this primary school issue, because you know, what you're saying about prejudice and facing the challenges is one thing, but it does not follow that the answer to that is to teach primary school children about issues that are way beyond their understanding and maturity and their parents' consent.
I think in this case, it's probably well-intentioned but poorly executed. Frankly, there's no point showing a 9-year-old or something 300 pictures of flags, because they're never going to process that information regardless of what the topic is. So it's utterly pointless. It complicates a situation that's unnecessary. They don't need to be burdened with that complexity of it. There's no point, there's no benefit, they're not going to absorb it. It's not really indoctrination because they're never going to understand it. But there's a different point here, which is the principle, which is that, you know, for many years, Margaret Thatcher introduced Section 28, which banned local authorities such as schools and libraries from mentioning the fact that gay people exist at all. Now, I was the first year, 2003, of going to secondary school when that didn't exist. That's how recent it was. And so that is an incredibly dangerous way to behave. That is erasing people. I think we're much better off that, you know, primary school kids should be aware that this exists. There should be storybooks which reference it in an age-appropriate way. They shouldn't be denied to know that there might be another kid in the class with 2 mums. That is all normal. And I'm afraid there are people that want to take that away, and it would be dangerous to take that away.
But why should primary schools, the state effectively, have the responsibility of educating children about social ideas, which there isn't consensus for,
Yeah.
should they not be sticking to reading, writing and PE?
Well, that's why I call it indoctrination. And, you know, it is a highly divisive subject. It's a highly debated subject. And there are no settled conclusions. And I think it's damaging. Again, it's one of those things that I find damaging to society, because it's setting aside, in many respects, you know, common sense, the familial unit, again, about which we've talked so much in this programme so far. And it is indoctrinating these children at a very, very young age. When I was at school, we weren't taught about sexual reproduction until I was 14. And even then it made me sort of giggle, because I didn't really understand the whole concept. You know, and to be doing it at the age of 3 or 4 and normalising it, it's just not right.
It is normal.
No, but it isn't. Being trans is not normal. It's not normal.
It's not normal to have 300
It is a mental health issue.
It's not. That's incredibly insulting.
It's a mental health issue.
But
not being happy in your own body.
They exist.
No.
People who are transgender have existed in every period of history, in every part of the world.
I don't deny it.
Men who dress as women have existed, but the question is there such a thing as someone born in the wrong body? And there is no evidence for that.
Yes, because both of you...
Whose body were they born in?
Both of you speak in ideological terms and not in the reality of
I'm a
what
biology teacher, I have a degree in genetics, and I can tell you there are 2 sexes.
But you're not transgender. And so tell me...
But what does it mean to be transgender?
Why do you think, then, if we were to take your argument, that there are people from far more oppressive societies than our own who cannot live without being transgender, without explaining to the world or to their friends that they are fundamentally different in their mind to their body? Why would someone choose that? Because that's the implication of your argument, that somehow it is a choice, it is an indoctrination. Nobody would choose that. The choice is to reject their ability to live their lives freely.
It's the mechanism by which we're required to accept it. I totally
you are
understand.
required to accept it because that's called decency.
I totally understand that a John may wish to be a Jane, and if he wants me to call him Jane, that's fine. But the fact is, he's still male. I can be respectful. I can be sympathetic.
It doesn't. It affects them far more than it's ever going to affect you. That's why they have such a high suicide rate.
But let's bring this back to children, and whatever we believe that adults can do in their free time and in a free democracy, it's nevertheless really important that children understand the difference between men and women. That's a key safeguarding implication, and that they're not told things by adults that aren't true and that aren't evidence-based. And wouldn't it be better, Benjamin, if primary schools just stayed away from this area altogether? Not to teach children to be prejudiced, not to teach children that certain people don't exist, but to stay away from this topic because it's not age-appropriate.
If you're denying the existence of people that exist in society, then that is the definition of indoctrination. If a child asks a question about this because maybe they've seen it on television, if you were to say that school shouldn't be able to answer the question about the fact that a trans person exists or a gay person, that would be indoctrination. But let me just finish. Let me just say, as a gay person, I can tell you every gay person in this country, let alone trans person, would tell you that they were indoctrinated to be straight as a kid. Their parents would tell them fairy tales of a man and a woman falling in love. The books at school would all be about straight people. The social and cultural references would all be heterosexual, and yet they turned out gay. Don't tell me that we're indoctrinating people in that direction.
You're conflating issues. You're conflating issues, because what these children are being told is actually, if John wants to be Jane, he will become a woman, which is absolutely ludicrous. What they need to be told, if they're to be told anything, is be sympathetic, be kind, understanding. But John doesn't become Jane.
We are going to have to leave this hot topic. Well, Swindon Borough Council declined to comment, but a spokesman for Swindon and Wiltshire Pride said, "We were invited into a small number of local schools. Our support guide contains no sexual content whatsoever. It's disheartening, though sadly not surprising, to face unfounded attacks or misrepresentations of our work. As a visible LGBTQIA+ charity, we know that some individuals may seek to undermine the progress we're making in fostering a more compassionate, inclusive society." Well, there you have it.